Okay, let's jump right in. What if I told you that some of our biggest scientific discoveries, we're talking the Big Bang, the nature of time itself, were hinted at in a text from the 7th century? Today we're going to explore the fascinating parallels our source material draws between verses in the Quran and the secrets of the cosmos. So let's dig in.
So this is the big question, right? The one our source material really wants us to think about. It's a pretty bold claim that foundational truths about our universe might be found in a place most people wouldn't even think to look for scientific answers. It's a fascinating idea for sure, so let's see how the case is built.
All right, first up, we're going way, way back to the very beginning of, well, everything. We're going to look at how our source material links verses about creation with what we now know about the Big Bang. So, the source kicks things off with this verse. It describes the early heaven as smoke. Just let that sink in for a second. The entire universe, a giant, vast cloud of cosmic smoke. Okay, now let's flip to the science side of things. We call it primordial plasma. Right after the Big Bang, the universe was this unbelievably hot, super dense soup of energy and particles. It wasn't solid, it wasn't liquid, it was more like a thick, swirling fog you couldn't see through. You know, a cosmic cloud that sounds an awful lot like smoke. And here's where you can really see the connection our source is pointing to. You've got the ancient text saying smoke, and you've got modern cosmology talking about this primordial plasma. The whole argument here is that this is a surprisingly good description written thousands of years before we had the telescopes to figure it out.
Okay, so that's what the early universe looked like, but what did it sound like? The source brings up this next verse, which talks about everything in creation, praising or glorifying in a way that we just can't hear.
And get this, for the longest time, we all thought space was just dead silent, right? A total vacuum. But now, with our modern radio telescopes, we know that's not true at all. Space is actually humming with activity. It's full of vibrations, radio waves, all this background radiation from stars and galaxies. It's like a constant cosmic symphony. And our source connects that cosmic hum to the idea of this universal praise.
All right, let's switch gears a bit. We've talked about the birth of the universe. Now let's talk about the rules that run it. We're diving into the big stuff here, physics. We're talking time, gravity, and how everything up there is moving around. First up is something we all think we understand, time. But the source points to this verse that totally messes with our idea of a simple ticking clock. It basically says that a single day from one perspective could be the same as 1,000 years from another. Whoa! And that idea leads us straight into one of the wildest concepts in all of physics, time dilation. This is Einstein's territory. He figured out that time isn't some absolute constant, it's relative. The faster you go, or the more gravity you're under, the slower time actually ticks for you compared to someone else. It's a real, proven thing. So, you see the parallel, right? It's pretty striking. On one side, a divine day is like 1,000 human years. On the other, time is relative. The source is arguing that this isn't just a poetic phrase, but a statement about the nature of time itself, an idea that science wouldn't even touch for more than 1,000 years.
Okay, so from time, let's talk about motion. The source highlights the short, simple phrase, all are floating in an orbit. Now that might not sound like a big deal to us today, but remember, when this was written, pretty much everyone believed the Earth was the center of everything and didn't move at all.
And speaking of orbits, it's all held together by gravity. The source goes on to talk about how perfectly balanced everything is. I mean, if gravity was just a tiny, tiny bit stronger, everything would collapse in on itself. A little bit weaker, and planets would just fly off into deep space. It's this incredibly delicate dance, and the source argues that this perfect balance points to a system that was set up just right. Okay, we've been out in the cosmos for a while. Let's bring it back home, back to planet Earth. Now we're going to look at what our source material has to say about where life, us, actually came from.
In this next claim, well, the source presents it as maybe the most straightforward one of all. It's a simple, powerful statement. We made from water every living thing.
And I mean, think about it. That lines up perfectly with everything we know from biology. Literally every single life form on Earth needs water. It's the one non-negotiable. It's the whole reason that when we look for life on other planets, like Mars, the first question scientists ask is there water? The mantra is, follow the water. So the source is saying, here's a fundamental truth of biology, stated very plainly. Let's stick with our home planet for a bit longer. Now we're going to look at what keeps us safe here, what our source says about Earth's structure and the very air we breathe.
Okay, so check this out. The source points to a verse that doesn't just call the sky. It calls it a protected ceiling. The key word there is protected, and that begs the question, protected from what? Well, modern science has the answer. It's our atmosphere. That, plus our planet's magnetic field, works like this incredible shield. It blocks all sorts of harmful radiation from the sun and deep space. Honestly, without that protected ceiling, life as we know it couldn't exist here. The surface would be completely fried.
Okay, so we've looked at cosmology, physics, biology. What's the big takeaway here? Let's pull back and look at the bigger picture our source is trying to paint about how science and faith might relate to each other. So let's just run through the list real quick. We've got the universe starting as smoke, which sounds a lot like primordial plasma. We have the idea of relative time, which mirrors Einstein's theories. We have life coming from water, a cornerstone of biology. And we have the sky as a protected ceiling, just like our atmosphere. The source's point is, when you line them all up, that's a lot of connections. Maybe too many to just be a coincidence. And this really gets to the heart of the argument. The source isn't trying to pit science against faith. Actually, it's suggesting the opposite, that maybe they're both trying to do the same thing. They're both encouraging us to look around, to observe the world, to ask those huge questions, and to basically never stop searching for the truth. And the source leaves us with this final verse, which is really kind of humbling when you think about it. It basically says, you've been given just a little bit of knowledge. It's a reminder that no matter how much we learn, how many discoveries we make, we've probably only just begun to understand how everything works. So that's it. That's the case our source lays out. And it all comes down to this one big question for you to think about. Are all these connections just a series of incredible coincidences? Are we just, reading modern science back into old texts? Or is it possible that these are signs of a larger design, like the source suggests? What do you think? That's the question we're left with.